Thanos is perhaps the most formidable intergalactic conqueror that the universe may have seen to date, amassing an army with the capability to overrun entire planets on a whim. His quest for the Infinity Stones solidified him as one of the most dangerous opponents the Avengers have ever faced, with him battling Thor into submission before beating the Hulk unconscious aboard the Statesman. Throughout the course of Infinity War, he seems to be generally capable of swatting most of the Avengers and Guardians aside without much issue at all, marching through the Earthbound Wakandan forces with ease and only remotely being slowed down by the likes of Tony Stark and Doctor Strange on Titan. First off, it's important to note that Thanos only kills when it is absolutely necessary, and he never goes out of his way to kill anyone he doesn't have to. He is so largely holding back as to not inadvertently kill any of the Avengers unnecessarily, seeing as he sees himself as a holy warrior who is simply tasked with achieving a certain goal. He does not wish to take life unnecessarily, as that would go against his goal of creating a random and dispassionate genocide across the universe. So why then was there only one lone exception to this rule, and why did Thanos not only decide that he was willing to kill Tony Stark, but utterly annihilate him with all 4 stones that he had collected up until that point? Well, stick with us, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, as we cover just that. During the battle on Titan, Thanos is able to overpower Tony Stark after a lengthy conflict, and upon defeating him, he elects to not only kill Tony, but utterly decimate him with all of the power he had at his disposal, before Doctor Strange finally steps in and offers the Time Stone in exchange for Tony's life. The Infinity Stones, while they are in the gauntlet, only glow when they are actively in use, and when Thanos aims the gauntlet at the wounded Tony, all 4 of the stones that he had collected up until that point glow brightly. Thanos was not only ready to kill Tony, but he was willing to completely decimate any trace that he ever existed. We've theorized before that this is because Tony Stark is the only Avenger, and in fact the only enemy that Thanos truly fears. So with Endgame serving as the swan song for the godfather of the MCU, we decided to revisit this topic as to not only analyze one of Tony Stark's amazing capabilities and his incredible prowess, but also as a celebration of his contribution and most incredible feats throughout the course of the MCU. The first thing worth mentioning is that he did not fear Tony Stark's raw power, as Stark is only human, but he instead feared Tony's mind, devotion, and capability to thwart Thanos' plans. Throughout the course of the Infinity Saga, Thanos seemingly had a vast network of spies and informants keeping tabs on the areas of interest that he had labeled, which is how he knew exactly where to find the Time Stone, as well as why he knew the Tesseract had been returned to Asgard after the events of the first Avengers. And these spies most certainly would have been keeping an eye on the Avenger that decimated the Chitauri mothership in one fell swoop. We did a more in-depth breakdown of this already in this alleged spy network in our video about how Thanos knows Tony. So for a complete breakdown on this, please see that video. Tony Stark spent the remainder of his life preparing for the inevitable day when Thanos would return to Earth, with Iron Man 3 delving heavily into his PTSD, as well as his obsession with creating specialized Iron Man suits in order to fight off any potential invader or adversary that could possibly oppose him. The Ultron program, the Iron Legion, the House Party Protocol, and even Tony Stark's stance on the Sokovia Accords were all designed specifically with Thanos in mind, preparing for the fateful day when Iron Man and the Avengers would be called to protect the Earth in its dire time of need, and Thanos knows this. Much like how Thanos was able to foresee the coming fall of his people on Titan, he knows that Tony is able to foresee Thanos' eventual, inevitable return to Earth. And for this time, where Thanos was unable to, Tony is prepared. The Mark 50 suit was Tony's most advanced suit to date, barring the eventual creation of the Mark 85, but the Mark 50 was able to put up a significant fight against Thanos. It's important to remember that he didn't in fact know anything about Thanos at this time, and Tony created the Mark 50 as a catch-all suit to prepare for any inevitable eventuality. If Thanos had allowed Tony Stark to live, the risk he could pose not only as a futurist, but also as an engineer armed with the knowledge of Thanos' capabilities, then Tony Stark would almost certainly become the most formidable adversary that Thanos had faced in his centuries of conquest, and potentially be one of the very few, if not the only adversary with the potential to beat the Mad Titan. One of Tony Stark's premier character traits is his ability to adapt and learn from his mistakes, a upgrading his suits to take into account the previous weaknesses that he has identified, failings, and shortcomings of his prior suits until he creates more and more advanced Iron Man armors as the years go on. In the comics, this trait has had decades of expansion and exploration, with Tony Stark creating a specialized suit with the express purpose of battling specific foes, from Thor to the Hulk to even the Celestials. It is not unreasonable to believe that Tony Stark could have taken what he knew about Thanos to create an incredibly complex suit with specific intention of fighting off Thanos given what he knows. But I hear you asking, Tony Stark did live. So why did he create the Mark 85 instead of a specific Thanos killing armor? The answer is simple, my friends, because shortly after the battle on Titan, Tony Stark was hospitalized, and Thanos was killed at the hands of Thor. For 5 years, Tony Stark widely believed Thanos to be dead, and most likely created suits with the express purpose of adaptability and versatility, much like the Mark 50. So when Thanos did eventually return in Endgame, Tony had the Mark 85 as his premier battlesuit. Thanos, of course, wouldn't have known this in Infinity War, but he still knew that he had reason to fear Tony Stark, and this fear was not only supported, but realized. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this idea? Do you think Thanos legitimately fears Tony Stark? And if not, then why was he so ready and willing to kill him so thoroughly on Titan? What are your thoughts on this explanation for why Iron Man is the only Avenger that Thanos really fears, and the only one who he was willing to kill and take out? Something that ultimately came to fruition and was proven correct, as Tony Stark was the one to ultimately defeat the Mad Titan in Avengers Endgame. As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.